you're almost like a cheat code. You can fast forward scenarios for these contractors. And I think that's probably one of the greatest impacts that someone like you can have on these businesses. Welcome to the Contractor's Edge, the show where we break down the tips, tools, and tactics that you need to grow your home service business. Whether you're in a truck or at the office, we're here to give you the edge that you need to win. I'm Mike Stiers, and unfortunately, we couldn't line up 3 schedules for this episode, so we're rolling without Anthony. Today we have a special guest and a good friend of ours on the show, someone who's been in the crawl spaces, basements, sales meetings, and leadership meetings. We're talking with Scott Llewellyn from Foundation Rescue Supply about training, in-home sales presentations, and the systems that actually help contractors grow. So let me introduce Scott the right way. Scott Llewellyn has spent more than 20 years in waterproofing, crawl space repair, and foundation repair. He has sat in pretty much every seat you can inside of the contracting business. He's been a system designer in the home, a sales manager, a marketing manager, a production manager, and a general manager. We actually met Scott when he was working for one of our clients. He was a client of Anthony's directly at the agency. That is where this whole relationship actually started. Fast forward to today, Scott is the Director of Business Development for Foundation Rescue Supply. His focus is helping contractors grow through sales training, installation training, operational support, and strategic programs that go far beyond just handling someone's product catalog. What I love about Scott is his passion in developing people, improving processes, and making the contractor experience better across the industry, not just inside one company. So, Scott, thanks for hanging out with me today.
Thanks for having me, man. This is great. Love to be
Yeah.
part of this.
Yeah, we've been trying to get you on here for a bit. I know we were just trying to get schedules to align, but you're a busy guy traveling all over the country and hosting all these trainings for these contractors. It's wild.
We've had a good year. It's been fun this year. Lots of airline miles.
I can only imagine. I know I'm starting to rack mine up again. I got out of travel for a bit and then jumped right back in it. So, I figure we jump right into this. I kind of put together some questions because there were, for our listeners, there's all these different elements that we can hit on. And I just want to make sure that we're able to kind of capture that during our time together. So, I want to start so that everyone understands more about you, your experience, where you came from. So can you kind of give our listeners a little bit about like what got you into the foundation repair industry as a contractor?
Well, I can't say anybody ever wakes up and says, I want to be in the foundation repair world. So I actually met a basement systems dealer in Virginia when I owned a marketing company. She walked into my showroom and needed some trade show displays. And, we serviced a broad spectrum of companies. And if I wasn't getting job offers, I wasn't doing my job well. And she started offering different positions to me. And one day she just called me at a weak moment and I said yes. And I think I kind of surprised. So that's where it started. I stepped into a sales marketing manager role for her and we pushed the needle. And it was a fun experience. I learned a lot and it got me where I'm going. But that's how
That's
it all
awesome.
started. I mean, like I said, nobody wakes up and says, I want to do this.
No, it's always wild. I laugh because all of our journeys have kind of brought us to this moment, and you start to think back, and it's like, oh my gosh, how in the world did that even happen? And so it's pretty crazy that yours happened that way. Uh, for our listeners, you've worked for a number of home service or foundation repair specific companies. I don't know if you're able to say any of them by name, but I figure a lot of these might be familiar. I mean, I know them. So
The first one I worked for, I will say she was the first company that sold to JES, which started the groundworks movement. It's a Virginia-based company, and it was her dad's company. So we together built something up. They were amazing people. We took them to the next level, and she sold her company. When that took place, I guess I should step back probably like 6 months prior to that. But 6 months prior to that, me and her went back and bought the marketing company she stole me from.
my gosh.
We were running 2 companies. We had that, and I was running the marketing company as well. And when JES came in and purchased her company, I just went back to the marketing company, oversaw that for a couple more years, got into another basement systems dealer. It was 2 guys that I had hired when I was working for the first company.
Wow.
And they came in and explained what they were getting ready to do. And we became the fastest growing basement systems dealer that at that point they ever had. We went from 0 to like 15 million overnight. It was crazy, painful, but crazy. Learned a lot, still learning a lot, but yeah, I ended up there, and Larry Janeski might have came in and purchased the company, and a few of us got cut, and I was one of them. And, at the time, I thought it was the worst thing that ever happened to me because I got thrown away after 15 plus years at that in the network. I mean, strong earner in sales, strong production manager. In production of that company, we went from 3 crews to like 14 crews in 9 months. And I was there to manage the chaos. And then as soon as the chaos was over, out the door. But
Yep.
it made me stronger. I said I wasn't going to go into another crawl space ever again. And I said, I'm going to go sell showers. And I went to work for a heavy handed in-home shower solution and sold $26,000 showers. One call close, and I can't say I liked it. I was dirtier doing that than I was crawling around in a crawl space.
That's crazy.
I think that's where I met you guys when I transferred from there to an independent waterproofing. We got to know each other again, and Anthony came and took care of our marketing, and we drove his business, and it was fun. I mean, I got to test everything I had previously learned, and he was somewhat of an absentee owner, but
Mm.
he is fully in charge now, driving the ship, and he's doing really good with his business here locally. But without all of that, I wouldn't be where I am today.
Yeah, and that's, it's really crazy. I've had the opportunity to hear you, speak at several events now. Most recently, Voices of the Industry. I was so thankful that you invited us out there to be a part of that, both as Green Bomb Stires and as Contractors Edge. But it's amazing because I can feel your passion when we're in these rooms and you're sharing these messages because the contractors that are sitting there, they're looking for guidance, experience, leadership. What's this next thought? What can I do to improve my business? And every time that you get there in front of those folks, you have something new and exciting to deliver them. And I'm always like, man, this guy had so much experience doing a lot of these different things that you're almost like a cheat code. You can fast forward scenarios for these contractors. And I think that's probably one of the greatest impacts that someone like you can have on these businesses. And, that's why I wanted the listeners to understand. I mean, you've been in every different position. You've managed a company, you've been, in the home. I think what you were $2 million a year. And, we were talking about, wow, if that translated to today's money, like what would that be now? Amazing. All the experience that you've got.
It's so fun. When I got to FRS, I didn't come in. I came in as a customer, and one of the regional reps had stopped by and just randomly called me and dropped off his card, and I didn't need him. And I was buying from one of those other guys, and those other guys didn't pay attention to me. I just processed my web order, and nobody asked any questions. I knew what I needed, and I placed my orders. But when I met this gentleman, he said, you need to meet my boss. And I was just like, okay. I figured, uh, Kent Companies, which was the name of our division for many years, they're the sixth largest concrete construction company in the country. Their revenues right about $1 billion a year, privately owned, and we're like a sliver division of that company, a growing division, but we nonetheless. But I didn't know what they wanted when he wanted to take this meeting. And what I quickly learned was Mike Wegman, which is now my boss, not only invited me, but he invited my wife to come to Richmond and do dinner. And I was like, what's this guy want to do with me? And then we're all 50 somethings. And he laid out a roadmap for his vision of where he saw this thing going. And for whatever reasons, he thought I could help. And we were off and running. The strange part of this, my wife has worked at 2 of the 3 waterproofing companies that I worked for. And she came to dinner. And once he found out she was in the industry too, not currently at that time, but he, I think, started talking to her more than me. So we're, we're in this industry as a family. She's across the hall from me right now. We work from home when we're not traveling, but really, he shared this vision, and he came from one of the largest buyouts in our industry. one of the most
Wow.
successful ones too. And we all grew up in this industry and we saw the good that it did, but a lot of us saw a lot of the negative that it caused. And not everybody does it the way maybe I would have. When Mike shared with me what he was looking to do, I wanted to be a part of it. And he didn't exactly know how to get there either, but he had this vision, and together he became, I don't want to say his puppet, but I mean, he had a vision, and I started to help execute some of it. And then I executed more of it. I came in with a random title, but it evolved, and we created resources that contractors need every day.
Mhm.
I took the good and tried to get rid of all the bad stuff that I learned, the heavy-handed stuff and the stuff that doesn't play well in the homes, but it must because these other companies are doing it. But I wanted to share with everybody there's a different way of doing it, especially on the sales side.
Oh, for sure.
That's what was important to me. And he's given me a chance to spread my wings. We've had probably a dozen plus trainings this year and small regional individuals, but we had a couple really large events, and we almost had 500 people come through our trainings this year. It's been really eye opening that this industry is still craving more direction and help.
Oh, for sure. And that was one of the big things. I mean, obviously we're alluding to Foundation Rescue Supply. When I first heard about, we'll lovingly refer to it as FRS. When I first heard of FRS, I'm obviously looking you guys up, and I'm looking at all the information, and I could clearly see that one of the fastest or like most prominent pitches was just the contractor support. And that's where your experience, and obviously Mike's as well. I worked with Mike in we'll say a previous lifetime, on some other projects, specifically a waterproofing system. And, it's interesting. Mike clearly is very experienced, in the foundation repair and waterproofing industry, you as well. And I felt what you brought into the industry now as a distributor, sure, it's products, but you guys are so much more than products. And I see that every time, when I got my first taste when I went to Charlotte, and we teamed up there and met all these wonderful contractors. I think, you guys had well over 100 folks there, and they were all just eager, to just soak up the knowledge that you were sharing, as well as the other, manufacturers, and people were just providing so much information to these guys. And, we were having a whole bunch of like side, conversations in the hall, and everyone's like, man, a lot of these guys, it was their first time ever even like hearing of you, and your reps had gone out and they had brought these people in. So for me, I was super excited about like this. This was what my focus was, previously when I was in that distribution world, was education. And you guys are leading with that education, and you are helping these companies grow. And, I'd like for you to help the listeners understand, like, what are the biggest questions, or, what are you hearing most often from these business owners?
In the companies, they feel alone. They don't have a lot of mutual relationships within the industry. Some do, but these guys are out there doing 3, 4, $5 million. And the biggest question they have, how do I stack up against my competition? And, I try to share with them, depending on what it is, like Charlotte, you mentioned Charlotte. Charlotte's a
Mhm.
busy market for us. I mean, there's probably 20 plus customers that could touch each other and throw rocks at each other, but we've taught them that they're not competitors. Our competitors, I could name the two other big competitors, but those are our competitors. We're the result of that industry. We're the result of the bad. And these are guys that think that they can do it better. But when I walk into their building, they want to know that they are. So through some KPIs and some different tools that we give them, it helps them realize what they've done. And, you're only as smart as the smartest person in the room. And I'm learning every day. And every time I go into a customer's location, they teach me something. They teach me that they're doing something different than somebody else, and I take that to the next company. And, while we're there, this isn't about walking into somebody's business and telling them how to do it. It's about listening to how they're doing it and finding little tweaks to make them better. Because at some point, you know this with the KPIs. I mean, a little bump in your ADL or a little bump in your average job size or a little bump in your closing percentage, it's going to get you to a bigger number quickly, but it's not one thing. So it's hard to put a finger on it, but I think contractors want to know where they rank. And it's not about, hey, you're first place or you're third place. This is just about looking at their numbers and giving them the confidence that what they're doing is actually within standard within the industry. And those have been the fun conversations. And once we get there and get everybody chatting in the room, all they want to do is learn how to make themselves better. And that's what we've been trying to do is just give them ways of doing it.
Yeah, and that's what it's so crazy because when I heard you leading with, like, the education instead of, like, FRS sells products. That's how you guys, keep the lights on and you build, your company and your organization, but you were instantly in this educational mode. And, and I thought that was, like, super interesting is, okay, let's prepare these contractors. Let's find out where they're at and the different ways that they can improve. So here is this product supply company educating these business owners on, key performance indicators and, through your experience, hey, what are the best ways to, move the needle? And I think I commend you for that, Scott. I think it's fantastic. You're authentic. You're sharing your experiences. I haven't heard of any other, supply companies essentially doing this where, you're so focused on helping these business owners to improve their company and their processes. And obviously, if you're building these relationships, you're hoping that they buy more products from you as well. I was hoping that you might be able to talk a little bit about the products that you guys, do supply.
Well, strangely, you're the only ones talking about products so far. I haven't
Yeah.
said the word product yet. So that's the basis of everything. Of course, we sell products. So of
Mhm.
course, I sell waterproofing products for basements. We focus on process. So whether you're doing that solution on the top of the footer, face of the footer, or exterior, we have the solution for that. We handle bowing walls, of course, whether that's carbon fiber, whether that's wall anchors or steel beam supports, we offer the full gamut. Crawl space encapsulation is a busy category, whether you're just doing ground cover all the way to a full encapsulation. We offer all the steps along the way. Sump pumps, dehumidifiers, so air control is a big one. And then of course we do foundation products, which is the core of our how we were founded, really, whether that's push piers or helical. We have a large offering, both residential and then what we don't talk about much, and you probably haven't heard me even say that, we have a full commercial division as well. So on our commercial side, there's another, well, I'll be stepping into a little bit of that role next year, doing the same training and marketing resources for that division as well. But our commercial division takes that residential customer or contractor to the next level. They find a commercial project, we'll help them bid it, we'll help them get the engineering submittals all taken care of.
Wow.
So there's a whole nother side of our business that we really haven't really discussed in the presence of probably you.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, I was completely unaware. I mean, obviously, I understand how grandiose Kent is and everything that they're involved in. Obviously, I didn't know until now. So, hey, I'm excited. Our listeners are finding out just like I am. That's great.
so all of our steel, I mean, most of the residential's 2 7/8, just like you would expect to see. We got
Mhm.
a lot of square shaft as well, inch and a half, inch and 3/4. Most residential contractors don't get into the 3.5 or 4.5 inch product lines. So between our locations, we have our main distribution point out Grand Rapids, and then we have Charlotte. But to see our yards, I mean, there's $6 million worth of steel sitting on the yards ready to ship at any given time. So
Wow.
we're on it. I mean, customers need it. When they need it, we ship it. There's product fills in the blanks to the process. And, are we a perfect match on every product that other customers are using? Probably not, but we try to teach them that this is the comparable product or this is what can be used. I mean, we all asked who taught you to use a specific product. That's kind of one of my big questions. And, normally it's the smartest foreman or the first foreman or whatever. And change is hard. Don't get me wrong. So when it's not an exact match, change is hard. But, because it's hard and we know that, that's where all of our training resources come into play.
That's it is really exciting, Scott. No, I appreciate it. Obviously, it's new information for me, so I'm pretty excited to hear about the commercial focus. I really wasn't aware of that. But what would you say is FRS's competitive advantage?
Well, training first and foremost, because that's what I lead with. The competitive edge for us, yeah, we can sell products and we do. We sell a lot of them, but can we help you save money on your products? Sure. But most contractors, it's a percentage of a percentage, right? So, I
Yeah,
mean, your cost of goods percentage is very important, but our competitive edge is focusing on levers that are bigger. We want to focus on your revenue number. We want to help customers with marketing by introducing them to partners like you. We want to work with them on their labor. You know, we want to pull the big levers
mm,
because I always ask somebody, and I'll use dehumidifiers as an example. Somebody wants to beat me up on price for $10, and I can get it $10 cheaper somewhere else. Well, how many do you buy a year? I buy 120 units a year. And if $10 times 120, I mean, we're talking about a very small number. We're willing to help you, but what I find is you'd rather have my help tweak your closing percentage by 2 or 3%. That's a big number. So training is the number one competitive advantage I think we have. And when people hear it, they buy in. But the the biggest growing competitive advantage we have is consignment. Consignment's a premier program that we have for customers that we actually will review their usage, look at their stock levels, and actually set an account up with product that'll get them 45 to 60 days worth of product. They don't pay for it until they use it, Mike. You've heard me talk about this a lot. It is definitely one of our premier flagships. It doesn't exist in the industry. I hear there's a couple companies that are trying,
mm,
but it's difficult to start. And right now we got 50 some accounts on consignment that
wow.
actually physically have our inventory on site ready to use as they need it because that's the important part. And then we ask them to count and do a cycle inventory every 2 weeks. And whatever they used is what we bill them for. It's pretty straightforward, but
Yeah.
it's not for everybody. It's for our upper end customers that are communicating with us that want to grow because it takes a lot of communications to make that program work. And those are the customers that we really spend a lot of time with. That's the part of the business that my wife Teresa manages for our company. I did forget to mention she came to work for FRS.
Yeah.
So she manages all of our consignment customers as well. So she brings some years of experience there that we find very valuable. And so do our customers. And then, of course, the biggest competitive advantage is just our people.
Yeah.
So we find a way to figure it out, whether it's product, price, process, training. We're just not a call us, place an order, and we walk away and ship it to you whenever we feel like it. That's not who we are. So I think there's a lot of value there. People put value on different things.
Mhm.
Some of our competition puts value on free shipping. And that's still talking about product.
Sure.
And for me, free shipping's not a big enough value add. I'd rather talk about the other things that we can generate.
Oh, for sure. Well, it's funny that you say that. The other things that you can generate kind of, takes us into my next topic. It was pretty crazy because, when you approached me and you were kind of tossing the idea, I was like, man, Scott, this is a really great idea. So for our listeners, Scott and I, obviously both have experiences outside of what we're currently doing. And that actually comes as a benefit to the folks that end up working with us. And when you came to me and said, "Hey, I think I want to create this platform that is going to be this resource for contractors. They can have education, in-home sales presentation, and all these things." And I'm like, man, we tried to do something like that many years ago, and the technology just wasn't there. So thankfully, I know I pretty much set you in with all of our developers, and you guys just went to town and created this great piece that we ended up, walking through live to the contractors at Voices of the Industry event in Indy. And that was really exciting for me. So I want you to, take some time and kind of explain, what brought you to this, because it came from your experience. And that's why I want, people to understand you're helping them to avoid potential pitfalls. You're helping them to be able to scale their business and further education of their sales and installation departments. So talk to us a little bit about this platform. What was your vision, and how do you even see this transforming in the future?
Well, I mean, I came from some other, well, same industry, but other companies,
Yep.
and we had tools to present in home. And I always, in talking to the customers that we have this past year, we learned very quickly that their message to their customers, even within one company, is very different. They weren't presenting the same way. And I get it. I'm not a scripted kind of person. I would rather go with the flow, but I would
Mhm.
always typically say the same thing. So we wanted to create something that they could use as a tool in home to present what's going on, how to fix it, and then walk them through a solution. And, maybe along the way, share a little bit about the company and share a little bit about the process, because
Mhm.
not everybody buys the same day you're there, but you want to explain everything. But this vision to me was it was just a roadmap. And I came to you guys with, I need a presentation that shows all of the processes that our customers are using to solve a problem.
Mhm.
And you guys just knocked it out of the park. We simplified it. It's a very dynamic presentation that allows the contractor to move around based on the conversation that's taking place in the house. It presents them with what's causing the problem. It presents them with the possible solutions, and allows the customer to make some decisions with the contractor that's sitting in front of them. And I thought that was the goal. What I learned when we were going through this process was what's on the screen matters, but not as much as the words matter. And what I quickly learned, and I think I surprised you and Indy with this,
Yes, you did.
that the voices of the industry, or the last event we did, wasn't about the people in the room. It was the voices that were actually presenting in the homes, because those voices are the industry. And what I learned and what we did, we took this to the next level of not just turning over a tool to use in the home, it was how to use the tool. So we basically went slide by slide, and there is a complete guide for a sales rep to understand why they're supposed to say something and then what to say. And it's, yeah, we can call it a script. I
Mhm.
don't expect everybody to learn the script, but there are talking points that everyone should hear when they're presenting. And, it was a unique opportunity. So we created 9 different video modules, and we created a
Yeah,
70+ page manual that takes it one slide at a time. And I say slide, it's not really a linear presentation. Remember, it's
sure.
dynamic, it moves around, but it goes one slide at a time. So depending on where your customer takes you during the conversation, you can move slide to slide. But when you get to a specific slide, you should know what to say.
Mhm.
So we created not only a presentation, but we created a sales platform that can be used for sales training to get a rep up and running quickly. Because not only is it difficult to know what to say, you have to do the inspection. They have to know what they're looking for. We got tools for that too.
That's
But
right.
outside of that, they have to know what to say when they find it.
Mhm.
And it's not, your house is falling down. That's not what you need to say. It's more about, we can fix it. Let me share with you how, and give you some options on how to do it. You've heard me speak. So, I mean,
Mhm.
my sales approach is empathy. So
Yes.
I focus on empathy while I'm in the house, and I focused the sales presentation and the script around empathy. And sometimes either you have it or you don't, but if you don't have it, we can train it.
Yeah. Well, that was what was so exciting to me is, when we created the intranet, Okay, great. So you've got your intranet. Well, then inside of there, we've got these training and educational resources. Oh, how do you encapsulate a crawl space? What's the process? What do you look for? How do you do it step by step? Just as an example. And then the in-home sales presentation I thought was really interesting because it's almost like you gave the users a cheat code in the home because you build it off of your successes. And you were talking about empathy. The part that really like wowed me that I was so surprised about, and I didn't even know that you had done it until like we got together in Indy. You created those video walkthroughs that can actually be watched, by new or even seasoned sales representatives. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is the way that people can scale their company. This is how they can hire someone new and they will follow this successful methodology that's been put out there. And so you've got these interactive, like these trainers essentially, visually and audibly walking through, this is how you navigate this. This is how you say this. This is what, and I just thought, man, the amount of value that you have baked into this is just incredible. And I obviously, you've shared different ideas with me and, how you envision this, rolling out to people. And I was excited because we're literally sitting there presenting this. I'm doing my first live walkthrough on, my laptop, and I've folded it over and I'm like demonstrating how easy it was to jump around all these different areas. And I'm very familiar with in-home sales presentations. This was not only easy, but natural. And I think that was the biggest piece, is that it just seemed like someone's going to follow this process every time and they're going to get it. And, like you were saying, you can train empathy. If they follow this process and you're training, they're going to have success. And that's the most exciting part, is that you've created this platform and given your experience to those folks. And, I when that fella in the front row is like, here's my credit card, how do I buy it now? I'm thinking, holy moly. And then you had two more, like as soon as we wrapped up, they cornered you over at the side of the room. And, it was exciting. And it had to be exciting for you because I know how much time and effort you put into this. And I'm happy that you had us be a part of it.
The resources are growing every day. We throw the word process around, you and I both. And, I think these are two different things. The sales process I teach builds in the presentation. The sales process gets us to the presentation. But once you open up the presentation, the words, whatever your process is for selling, whether it's aggressive or medium or kind of low end, low key, the presentation can be used in all three aspects. This can filter into somebody's existing program already and not follow my 9 steps to the sale. And this is just meant to give somebody something better than a kill book. Who wants to sit there and flip through PDFs and flyers and show them some stuff when you can actually just walk them through? And that's been so fun. It's going to grow. This is going to incorporate more education. It's got some other add-ons that we're in negotiation with right now that could ultimately create the drawing platform and the bid platform with one of our other partners. This is just the beginning. But how many people need a sales training program and can't find it in this industry? Because every company I walk into, the number one sales guy and the number 2 have a gap that's this big.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to figure out what the number one guy is doing and can't put their finger on it. So we created a training tool, called it a sales presentation, but we called this the sales platform. It's for 5 users. I think the price is like $2,300. I mean,
That's crazy.
It's a full package that if you buy in, renew every year, you're going to get the renewed value every single year with what we put into it. And you guys are doing most of this work for us. So, I mean, guys, there's more coming.
Yeah, no, and we're excited about it. I'm excited because I know what it's like. I sat in all those sales meetings. Ed Meyer, obviously, leading the meetings, and like you're saying, there was such a difference between the top 1 to 2 reps and then everyone else, and then they always had new sales representatives that were coming in, and so much time was spent. And Ed had a similar idea, and so we would take all these training documents and put all these things together for these guys to go through. And it's like, okay, you simplified this and made this so readily available. One of the questions that I know, you've been asked, I know I was asked as well. Do you have to be a customer buying product from FRS to be able to buy access to this?
Absolutely not. So, I think the big thing is if you're in this industry, you're in this niche, I don't care if you do two of the services or all of the services or one of the services, the presentation works. You just
Mhm.
don't show the other parts.
Yeah.
Because it's dynamic, you can move around as you see fit within your business and what that presentation looks like in front of your customer. So it's very unique. We cover everything, and I say everything. The only thing I didn't cover, Mike, and I think we talked about this, I didn't do poly level. I don't sell
Right.
poly, but I do believe we'll add poly level because too many of our customers do offer it. And we'll offer the before and afters and walk them through what they can get for that. But I don't sell that. I don't make any
Right.
money off of that. But somebody that's not a customer who uses this platform and
Mhm.
takes some of our training, they will be a customer because the product, I don't want to say doesn't matter because it's important to the solution, but at the end of the day, the value will outweigh it all and they will become a customer of FRS. And, this past year, this is how we've gained new customers and
Yeah.
others have taken notice.
Mhm.
And now that I see others that are kind of copying this roadmap, we were here first this go around, but training and the resources that we've provided, you can't get them anywhere else right now.
Right. Well, and you're so, driven and innovative. That's why I'm like, well, I know this platform is literally living. And I know you're ready to, roll out your next, newest idea and see how that resonates with the contractors. And that's always what's exciting to me is that you're not just like, "Oh, okay, I'm done. Here's the platform, hanging my hat." You're constantly evolving these things and coming up with these new ideas, and that is what's gonna drive this platform, and you've made it so easily accessible to people and affordable. Obviously, I know of a number of in-home, sales presentations that you can go through, other companies and produce, and it's incredibly expensive. And the way that you've done this, obviously there was a lot of heavy lifting, a lot of investment, by FRS and your team. And now you've made this, that's how you've made it affordable, is that you kind of spread this out, through these contractors and these companies. So I commend you for that. It's exciting because it's something that I feel like the industry needed. We know that there are a few organizations that have something, like this, and we know how it helps to improve performance in the home. Well, how do people learn more, not only about FRS, but about like the sales presentation platform? How can they get this information?
The simplest would just be to go to our website. So foundationrescuesupply.com. They can click contact me. All of those get distributed, but I'm the main receiver of those. So if there's any notes you want to include in that contact form, there's a space there. If you want to learn more about the sales presentation software, we'll be happy to demo that. If you want to learn more about our products, be more than happy to share with you those as well. But you don't have to be a customer to get some of our resources. We want to show you who we are first, and that's the purpose of these events. But onboarding a customer traditionally takes place through me. So we want to give everybody the best experience possible.
That's I hope that our listeners, if you're in the foundation repair industry, pick up the phone and, call Scott, call FRS and just take a few minutes and talk to this guy and challenge him, bend his ear, come up with your biggest problems. And I'm sure that he's experienced it. And, with the wealth of knowledge that you are and your team and just the experience that you guys have in the industry, obviously it's very welcomed in the foundation repair industry.
We want to leave a mark. We're all 50 somethings. I got 8. My boss says 12 for me. I don't know if he's going to let me retire in 8 years, but
He's not going to let you retire.
well, maybe within 12. So we're going out with a bang. I mean, this is it. We're going to build something that's legacy value.
Fantastic. And I'm sure you guys are already starting to plan your events for 2026 and what those trainings will look like. Kind of continuing that same vision of education and bring everyone together that way.
100%. We'll have 2 more national large events like Indy.
Oh, yeah.
Those typically anywhere from 100, 150 people. And then we'll do many, many more regional events that are more sales training. And then we're going to be kicking off some financial classes as well. Those will probably be more geared like last year, somewhere between 40 and 50 people at each one, but we'll pick those regionally. So check us out when we're close. I'm sure we'll be in somebody's backyard every single time.
Oh, yeah. No, it's exciting. I can't wait, and hopefully we get to be a part of those. I know we love going to your events. Your events are so like dynamic. You're teaching people not only about the products, the in-home sales process. You bring all of these different folks in that are manufacturers or have like CRMs or pay for performance, so lending. All of these educators are there to really make these contractors better, and that's what's for me so exciting about FRS. Well, Scott, thank you for being on the show today. I'm really bummed, obviously, that Anthony couldn't make it because I know you guys are good buddies over the years. You've had a lot of laughs together and worked on some pretty cool projects. But yeah, thanks for sitting with me today, and we'll definitely have you on again here in the future.
I appreciate your time. Thanks for having me, Mike.
Thank you. Well, thanks for listening to Contractor's Edge. If you got value today, make sure that you follow, subscribe, and share this episode with another contractor who could use an edge. For more tools, resources, and support, visit yourcontractorsedge.com. We'll be back soon with more tips, tools, and tactics to help you grow your business. See you later.